Holy Thursday is a celebration of two things. It is, as we all know and understand, a celebration of the institution of the Eucharist. It is on this day, before he is sent to the cross, that the Lord freely gives us his body and blood, freely gives us his presence, his actual physical presence in the Eucharist. But because today is the institution of the Eucharist, it is also the institution of the priesthood. These two cannot be separated from one another. Without the Eucharist, there is no real need for the priesthood, and without the priesthood, it is not possible to have the Eucharist. So this Mass celebrates both. First, a note on the Eucharist. I'm struck by the line in Exodus that says, "This is how you are to eat it, with your loins girt, sandals on your feet, and your staff in hand. You shall eat like those who are in flight." As Christianity spread through Europe, through the Americas, throughout the world, it's very easy for us to build institutions. Buildings like this one, staffs, programs, everything else that we associate with a stable parish life. And those institutions, rightly so, built up around the Eucharist. The Eucharist, even in a bureaucratic, institutional mindset, can be the source and summit of our faith. But the Eucharist is not the bread of life for an institution. The Eucharist is the bread of life for missionaries. Even today, in a stable country, in a stable situation, at a stable parish, even today we are to eat the Eucharist with our loins girt, sandals on our feet, staff in hand, like those who are in flight. We should eat the Eucharist with the same urgency as the people leaving Egypt. We don't know where the Lord is going to call us. The Eucharist is bread for the journey. And as he calls us into mission, as he calls us into the world, we have to be ready. We have to be ready to leave everything behind and take with us only the Eucharist. Take with us only the presence of Jesus. Because his presence is truly the only thing we need. If we have Jesus, then we can leave everything behind in order to preach his gospel in the world. Now, as I've been thinking about the institution of the priesthood, obviously a day very important to me, the word that has been coming to mind over and over again is humiliation. Humiliation. The washing of the feet is a symbol that's easy to neuter. It's easy to see it as a generic act of service, as something that we all kind of do as Christians with this idea of a service mindset. And it's become a nice, happy symbol of service. But when it becomes neutered like that, it loses all of its power. The power of the symbol of the Lord washing his apostles' feet is that it was absolutely humiliating. Absolutely humiliating. Peter does not want the Lord to wash his feet because he knows how humiliating a gesture that is. This is something that was the work of slaves. To touch somebody else's feet, particularly in the ancient world where those feet would have been very dusty. They didn't have socks and shoes that laced real tight. Very dirty feet from a day's journey. It was the job of the slave of the household, the lowest of the low, to wash the feet of the guests who came in. For the host to wash the feet of the guests is abject humiliation. And then for the Lord, who is the Messiah, who is about to enter into his passion and his victory, for the one who is recognized by his apostles as the one sent by God, for him to not only be the host, but for him to be the Lord to wash his apostles' feet, this is turning everything on its head. And so, of course, Peter was was uncomfortable. He was angry. He didn't want the Lord to do this. He was embarrassed on behalf of Jesus. Lord, why would you do this? Why would you touch my feet? I'm not going to let you humiliate yourself for me. It's a symbol of abject humiliation. And as I continue to reflect on that symbol and that image, preparing for this Mass, the institution of the priesthood to which I've given my life, it makes sense that the Lord would call his apostles to humiliation. He tells them to do this for each other. He would call his apostles to humiliation on the same day that he gave them the Eucharist. The Eucharist is an incredible power. Through the words that I am privileged to speak every day, I, as an ordained priest, have the absolute incredible blessing that I will never truly understand to take something so common as bread and wine and turn those into the body and blood of Jesus Christ. How can anyone understand that mystery? How can anyone get their head around what that means? It's an incredible power. And power, as we know, has a tendency to corrupt. And so it only makes sense that on the day that the Lord handed on the power to make him present for all time and all people, the power to bring his body and blood into the world over and over and over again, the same day he gave his priests that incredible power, he would also call them to humiliation. You must humiliate yourself for your people. You must remember that with this incredible power, you must approach it with incredible humility. The humility of a slave. The humility of someone who washes the feet of people who come to the feast. Those two things, the Eucharist and the priesthood, can never be separated. And so the humility of the priesthood must also never be separated. It is for this reason that the Church specifically calls her priests on Holy Thursday to wash the feet of their people, as an annual reminder that we must be slaves of those given into our care, that we must humiliate ourselves daily for the sake of the flock. It is incredibly important that we never forget this lesson. When a priest washes the feet, the rubrics say that they are supposed to be a chosen group of people. So I have the burden of choosing whose feet to wash each year. And this is the first year I've had to make that choice at Assumption because COVID intervened the previous 2 years. And so in discerning that in my own prayer and then with the parish staff, I've decided that today I will be washing the feet of those who went through the Evangelical Catholic program. The connection there is that these are folks that we are explicitly sending out on mission. Just as the apostles were about to go out on mission, to announce the resurrection, to bring people into the fold of Christ, to help the Gentiles convert, to help all those raise up the early church. They were sent out on mission. And the Lord wanted to remind them, as they were given the power of the priesthood and as they were sent out on mission, that they were supposed to do that with abject humility, with absolute humiliation. And so this new group of missionaries that the parish is commissioning, they are sent out with the power to preach and the power to evangelize, but with the reminder that preaching and evangelization is always at the service of humanity. We do it because the most loving, sacrificial thing we can ever do for a person is to bring them into relationship with Jesus Christ, to humiliate ourselves for the sake of the cross, to throw ourselves down on the ground to show people that nothing matters except the gospel. Again, to go out like those who are in flight, to take only with us the presence of Jesus, and to trust that that presence and our humility before that presence will be enough to convert the world.